Good morning, mountain bikers. I'm Chris Wessels, and you are watching MTB Trail Review. Today, while I'm at Crest right now, I'm bringing you a different ride. I'm actually going to bring you 3 rides. I'm going to show you my top 3 beginner-friendly mountain bike rides in San Diego County. So check them out, tell me what you think, enjoy the ride. Coming in at number 3, we have Los Penasquitos, also known as PQ. Let's start with the pros. One of the big pros to PQ is it's very easy access. There's several trailheads, and from most of the trailheads, you can get right onto the double track, which is definitely the preferable route for someone who's a beginner, or in my case here, when I have my little guy with me. It's pretty easy to put together a ride of 4 to 7 miles for a beginner when you're out at PQ without having to walk through any obstacles, without having to go around a challenging section, and without having to worry about how are we going to navigate this one spot. You can also ride PQ on just about any type of bike that can handle the most basic of off-road terrain. In my opinion, the biggest con with PQ has to do with the really large groups of people that you're bound to run into. Obviously, there will always be other trail users, but as a mountain biker, if we can get anything solitary, we're definitely going to go for it. There's 2 other big downsides to PQ for me. Number 1 being the lack of shade. You're going to be pretty exposed to the sun the entire time you're out. The other big downside for me is the lack of optional features. Optional features are going to allow a beginner to progress as they get more comfortable on the bike. They can challenge themselves a little bit more, and that's just not here. Also, if you're riding with somebody who's a bit more advanced, the ride's going to be a lot more fun for them, and they're going to be a bit more willing to go with you. Hitting the list at number 2, we have Lake Hodges. Like PQ, you can put together an easy 4 to 7 mile ride that's very beginner friendly. But unlike PQ, Lake Hodges has a bunch of optional lines, just like the ones that I'm doing here. As a beginner, you have the option to hit these, but they are definitely not required. And I think that Lake Hodges is definitely going to give a lot more opportunity for progression than somewhere like PQ. We also cannot ignore that view. The view of the lake as you're riding up and down the double track is gorgeous. And on most beginner rides, you're not going to get a view like this. The other big win for Lake Hodges is that there's some beginner-friendly single track. It only requires a short climb to get up. That said, it does have a little downhill. You can always walk the downhill at the end if necessary, but Lake Hodges has a great single track with a tiny bit of tech, a decent amount of flow, and it's relatively flat. Got a slow, techy turn. All that said, just like PQ, Lake Hodges has its cons. Yep. Just like PQ, one of the biggest downsides to Lake Hodges is the crowds. This is a very popular trail. You're guaranteed to see hikers, bikers, and a good chance that you'll see some people on horseback. And even with proper trail etiquette, using a bell, sometimes you just have some close calls, and those close calls are never fun. So for beginner riders, I think that the pros definitely outweigh the cons on Lake Hodges, just because you have so much opportunity for progression that you're not going to get at a place like PQ. Here we have my favorite beginner trail in the San Diego area, Otay Lake. The reason this one made the top of the list is because it's just plain fun. And it's just plain fun for anybody, not just beginners. It has almost all single track with a little bit of double track in between, but it's mostly flat. It's pretty windy and flowy. It has a ton of optional features, and it's a great place to progress, a great place to bring your friends who just started, a great place to bring your kids. It's just a great place to ride. It doesn't matter who you are. Now, with all of the other trails, I gave you a pros and cons list. The pros for this one are exactly what I just said. It's all single track and it's very progression friendly. The only really con is this right here, this section with the skinnies, and it's very approachable, it's very doable, but it can be intimidating to a beginner. That said, if you need to, you can just step off and walk. It's also a great introduction to skinnies if that's something you're ready for. Really, the only other con for Otay Lake is that it's sometimes just not rideable in the winter. This is a place that takes forever to dry out after we've gotten some rain. So if it's rained in the last 3 weeks to a month, there's a good chance a big part of the trail is flooded. So I hope you enjoyed this look at my top 3 beginner-friendly trails in the San Diego area. If you think I missed one, or there's one that should be in here, tell me about it in the comments. Lastly, I have a full review on each of these trails, so if you want to see those, just go search for each one on my channel, and they'll pop up. As always, thanks for doing the trails with me. See you on the next ride.